Hello, this is Alexandra Lewandowska, Into the Deep, Season 2, Episode 1. Welcome after the break. I'm very happy that we are meditating again, and I hope you'll be here this Sunday, 10 p.m. Central European Time, to meditate together. I must tell you that when I was thinking about the new start, about the new season of Into the Deep, I was wondering what kind of fragment, what gospel we will start with. And I was hoping for something easy, if anything in the gospel is easy, let's say. And I was really surprised that the first fragment that we'll be meditating on is about forgiveness. I don't have to tell you how difficult that topic is. I think you all know that from your own life experience. Our culture is not particularly forgiving. It's enough to have a look at what we are doing with famous people, with celebrities. We put them on pedestal and then we mercilessly throw them away. But also, when you look at how this subject of forgiveness is treated by speakers, by preachers, by priests, ministers, even secular life coaches, you can notice how afraid they are to mention that to people, almost as if they were scared that the audience won't agree with them or they will reject the message out of hand. So usually you hear words like, forgiveness is really about you, it's not really about that other person, it's for your inner peace, it's for your sense of freedom, you are doing this for yourself. And of course you can gain a lot by forgiving somebody who hurt you, but let's be honest, you also have a lot to lose. You can lose the special status of a victim. You can lose the excuse not to do anything with your life. If forgiveness was really so super cool and giving you freedom and power and whatnot, we wouldn't have that many videos on YouTube with captions like XYZ destroys ABC. And a video of Saint Peter forgiving his brother 77 times would have 10 million views, probably. No, that's not the case. And even if we do forgive, or at least we try to forgive, there's a lot of misconceptions about this phenomenon. I'll just mention 3 of them. The first one is forgiving like a doormat. In this approach, you are very quick to forgive, almost as quick as you are to say good morning, thank you, and you're welcome. Because you are not giving this much thought and much heart. You don't really want to get in touch with what happened, so you dismiss it very quickly and you forgive and you don't want to think about it because you don't have time for it and you have to move on and life goes on and so forth. But it stays with you somewhere at the back of your head, at the back of your heart, and it influences your life. So forgiveness doesn't really happen here. A second approach is something I call the acrobat. This approach requires from you a lot of mental gymnastics to justify somebody's bad behavior, and as long as you can do it, you can forgive. So for example, somebody's late to an appointment and you say, oh, probably it was a traffic jam or they had a lot of work. Or when somebody forgets about your birthday, you say, oh, things happen, we are only human. The problem is that not all behavior can be justified like that. After all, when somebody gets killed, or when a child gets molested, or when somebody commits any other heinous crime, you cannot really say, we are only human. Well, I mean, you can say it, but why would you? And the third approach is the bureaucrat. In this case, you are more faithful to the letter of the law rather than to the spirit. So when somebody tells you that you don't have to be best friends with that person who hurt you, you are very eager to say, yes, of course, I don't have to. But you're only interested in doing the minimum effort to still think of yourself as a good person, but not to go into the deep, not to touch what really happened, and not to forgive from your heart. This last approach is exemplified in the Gospel by Saint Peter himself. So without further ado, let's read the Gospel for tomorrow's meditation. We are meditating Matthew 18 verses 21 to 35. Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, I tell you not 7 times, but 77 times. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, cancelled the debt, and let him go. But when the servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, Be patient with me, and I will pay it back. But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told the master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said, I cancelled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you, unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. 3 thoughts that I have on this gospel, all interconnected. Number 1, when we sin, when we do something wrong, often the very first thing we need is understanding. We want somebody to understand that we perhaps had no choice, or we experienced such strong emotions, it was something stronger than ourselves, or we were under pressure, or we were afraid and that's why we did it. We need understanding. But when somebody hurts us, when somebody does something wrong to us, it's so difficult to have this sort of understanding towards the other person. And to think that perhaps this person had a difficult childhood, perhaps they are afraid, perhaps they live in fear, and that's why they hurt everybody around. I'm not saying that we should justify the actions of other people, because understanding is not the same as justification. But still, very often these bad habits developed over a long period of time, and they were reinforced by the environment that we were in, and it's hard to get rid of them just like that. That's why we need forgiveness all the time, even 77 times a day. The second thing is, when somebody hurts us, it's difficult to forgive quite often, not because they have taken something away from us, but because they've exposed the self-image that we have. Sometimes we think that we've been treated badly because we are who we are. And we think, oh, if only I was more intelligent, if I was a better person, if I was more valuable, it wouldn't happen to me. But it had to be me. It's happened because of me, because of who I am. Of course, that's not the truth. It's very seldom about us. It's more about the person who's doing us some wrong. Quite often they are in self-preservation mode. They are just thinking how to avoid pain, how to avoid hurt. They live in fear and they hurt people around them, not really giving much thought about how they affect other people. And the third and most important thing is, when we get hurt, we have a sense that something has been taken away from us. And this person needs to give it back. They need to repay the debt. And that causes us to get stuck. So maybe 10 years have passed, 15 years have passed, and you are still in the same place, sitting on the road and waiting for that person to come back and give that thing that they owe you. In the meantime, life goes on and invites you to participate. And there are people around you who want to get you involved. And they say, hey, I've got 100 bags of gold for you. And another person says, hey, I have 200 bags of gold for you. But you say, no, that person has 10 silver coins for me. They owe me 10 silver coins. I'm going to wait here all my life until I get it back. The problem is, you'll never get it back. If somebody hurt you, they cannot unhurt you. What's done cannot be undone. What's yelled cannot be unyelled. One thing my mom taught me about money was, instead of looking for ways how you can save money on very small things, look for ways to earn more so that you don't have to waste so much time thinking about savings. In the same way, if you think you lack happiness in your life, if you lack joy, if you lack peace, stop looking back, thinking what other people owe you. Stop thinking about the silver coins that are stuck in your past when you have bags of gold waiting for you in the present. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You have only one heart, and you cannot be forgiving towards those you love and unforgiving towards those who cause you pain. If you want your treasure to be bags of gold rather than silver coins, be sure to join us tomorrow at the meditation, 10 p.m. Central European Time. Bye-bye.